If you are a beginner into IT, or you are getting into IT from another profession, or upskilling and would like to be in a branch of IT or a career in IT that is in demand, hot, and has a future, and if you master that career roadmap, you will be able to get a job in a sweet spot in IT in 2025 and beyond. If that's you, listen to this video, but please consider subscribing to the channel, activating the notification, and give us a share and like to help people understand what they need to do if they are in your shoes. Stay tuned for the details. In a previous video that turned sort of controversial, I have explained why you should keep away from the traditional A+, Network Plus, CCNA, CCNP, and the enterprise networking part of IT, for which the demand and supply is going to be imbalanced, or it's already imbalanced and it's going to continue that way, where the supply of resources is going to be much higher than the demand. I have explained that, and you can watch episode 1 and episode 2 of the video. You have the 2 links appearing above me right now, and you can watch it and find out why and what are the evidences that I was sharing. For those of you who didn't see episode 1 and episode 2, my name is Isa Abu Sharif, and I have been a CCIE, a Cisco certified internet network expert, since 2005. And here is my plaque, so I can talk to networking and I can talk to cloud and DevOps, because I have been teaching cloud and DevOps and authoring some of the best-selling courses online and in class for AWS Cloud, Azure, and DevOps. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you what do you need to do exactly to get into cloud and DevOps and to reach the upper entry level or the lower mid level into this field. And this is with certificates and with what exactly to study and what are the sequence of steps and which one to do after which and so on. And this roadmap requires an investment in time on average per day of 2 hours only. If you do more, you can shorten the duration. If you do less, then it will be longer. But consistency and discipline are key in any career transformation, not only in this one. Before we jump, and if you haven't seen the videos that I have been referencing earlier in this video, what is the potential of cloud market revenues globally between now and 2029? So when you want to get in a career, you would like to know that it is going up quickly and the demand is going to be high, generated by the increasing global revenues, right? So here is a graph and here is the link. I always like to share the links because it's not about my opinion or experience. I am 100% convinced, but here's the evidence and here's the link. Check it yourself. So now in 2025, it is expected that we are going to close the year with $934 billion in cloud revenues globally. And by 2029, it is expected or forecasted to reach 1.8 trillion. So basically in the next 5 years, including this year, it's going to double. So 100% growth over 5 years. That's what is expected. So if that's the case, and we have an average of about 20% increase year over year, that means there is a lot of demand. And that means also that we are increasing by about $200 billion every year between now and 2029. That's a lot of revenue, a lot of money that will generate a lot of jobs. So this is for cloud. Now, which cloud providers? I mean, there is AWS, there is Azure, there is Google Cloud. Which one should I learn? And looking at the growth that has happened. So this is in Q2 2023, 2 years ago. AWS global market share used to be 32%. Microsoft Azure used to be 22%. And Google Cloud used to be 11%. That has evolved after 3 quarters that AWS became 31%. Microsoft Azure became 25% and Google stayed where it was. And then in Q4 2024, not long ago, AWS declined to 30% and Azure to 21% and Google Cloud to 12%. The message here is, if you study these two and you start with AWS or Azure, or take AWS and then Azure, you have about 51% of the potential jobs that are going to open because of this revenue and this market share, you will be qualified to enter these two. And of course, you need also to investigate and find out in your respective country which one is more in demand in your country. For example, in Germany, AWS is picking up. In Canada, Azure is picking up. In UAE, United Arab Emirates, Azure is having the upper hand as well, and AWS is competing. So in any one of these countries, you will find that there is a lot of demand. And if you are applying for jobs in startups that have to do with AI and machine learning, it will be Azure or Google Cloud. They will not care much about AWS. DevOps. So we talked about getting into cloud. Let's talk about getting into DevOps. So DevOps market growth again between 2024 and 2033 in $1 billion. We are expected to close 2025 with $16 billion and then grow at about 19.1% to $66 billion by 2033. That means the year before we are going to be at 55, the year before that is going to be at 46 and almost 40 billion and so on. So a lot of money and a lot of jobs, and the adoption is still, the highest, I believe it's the US at about 70%, Europe is about 50%. So there is a lot of companies and more companies coming up that they have not yet adopted automation and DevOps. If you put that in perspective and then compare it to what Cisco is doing and what have they been doing over the past few years. So this is the Cisco revenue. Why am I bringing Cisco up? Because that is the strongest or the largest networking or enterprise networking company globally. We all know that. And maybe you have heard it, that people told you, take CCNA, CCNP and apply for a Cisco job, get into networking and eventually get into CCIE and do this and do that. Don't. I'm telling you, don't. So if we look at this one, we'll find that Cisco has been averaging. So this line is for the $50 billion annual revenue. Let's look since 2015 or even before that. Let's say 2013 maybe or 12. And if we draw a line here, this is about 46 billion. And if we draw a line here, this is about 54 billion. So the revenue for Cisco has been almost stagnant. So the growth was maybe 1%, 2% per year in order to get from 46 to 54 in more than 10 years, in 12 years. So it's less than 2% every year. That's the growth that Cisco has been achieving. So if this is the network growth, why invest in this career? Whereas if you take it before, and that's why it was extremely hot. If you take it before, from the year 1995, for example, when they started, if you draw an average line, look at how the curve used to be. That's how it used to be. But then now it's almost flat. So there has been a break point, maybe at 2013, 14 or something, where it's almost a steady line, flat line with a very low angle of increase or appreciation. So get into something like this or get into something like this. That's the message. So look at where the curve is going here, and in cloud, look at where the curve is going, whereas in Cisco, it's almost going flat or with a little bit of inclination. That's what's happening with Cisco. And Cisco is indicative for the rest of the networking market. So let's be fair and also look at the forecast, not only Cisco, but even beyond that. So here's Polaris Market Research, and here is the link, because again, I don't like to speak what I believe, but I would like to speak what I believe with an evidence. And if anyone doesn't believe in it, please come back with your evidence and tell me I'm wrong. Verify yourself and then build your plans based on evidences and not what people say. So the networking, and this is enterprise networking. So this has nothing to do with service provider networking and the G5 for cell phones and all that. Global revenue by 2032. That is global networking. Everything, anywhere, will grow at 5.4% annually. It's expected to reach 313 billion by 2032. One would jump now and say, yeah, but that's a lot of money. Yeah, it is a lot of money. Compare it to here. This is in 2029. It's going to be 1.8 trillion. So if we continue down this path, how much would it be in 2032? 2.5 trillion maybe? If we just take the steady 200 billion a year increase, how much would it be? So the bottom line here is networking is increasing very slowly compared to cloud and DevOps. And I have never said that networking will disappear. I mean, I cannot claim that, you know what, you can build skyscrapers and without any ground floors or without any lobbies. They will just be flying in the air. I've never said that, but I'm saying there is a career path that it has lost its shine and now has become a commodity, and it's not going to pay as much because Cisco alone, over the past 20-30 years, they have certified more than 4 million people on different exams. So now you are competing with, let's say, even 1 million, 2 million people. How many of these are you going to have in your country? And how many are still going down that declining roadmap, still trying to get into IT through networking? So why compete with these, whereas maybe you have less than 500,000 people qualified in other careers, or maybe 200,000, or maybe less than 1 million over the years as well. So why compete with so many people when you can compete with less people? Here the supply is way less than the demand, whereas in the networking, the supply is much more than the demand. Which one do you expect will have more jobs and higher pays? That's what you need to think strategically. And I have never said, and I will never say, that networking will disappear, but the demand for networking and the supply is going to be hugely imbalanced. Lower demand and much higher supply of resources. All right, so if you are convinced and you would like to start in cloud, and you'd like to start in DevOps, and you'd like to take that path, and in a separate video, I have showed how cloud and DevOps can be a great milestone and a shortest path to machine learning and machine learning ops. So this could be a landing or a milestone that you take it forward to machine learning and machine learning ops. Similarly, I have showed in another video also how you can take cloud and DevOps as an interim career to get into AI engineering. So that's a landing, that's a milestone. And this is a great feature of any roadmap, that if you have to stop, if things happen, if things change, if you are squeezed and you'd like to get a job midway or even before and start to use the earning from this job to fund the rest of your learning until you reach your goal, then why not? Let's say I would get bored afterwards, and midway, if you give me a 24 months career plan to get into AI engineering or machine learning and machine learning ops and become a mid-level or high mid-level, maybe I'll drop the ball halfway, 12 months down the road. And if I didn't complete anything, then I have wasted 12 months and I have wasted a lot of money and a lot of effort, and I did not get any return on investment. So this roadmap is not going to do that. This roadmap is going to take you through different steps, and each step of these is going to have a lot of jobs that you can apply to. So now you are investing in the market in many stocks, as opposed to investing in one stock that may or may not get you a good ROI. So with an average of 2 hours study per day, starting from no knowledge of IT, zero knowledge of IT, and headed into cloud and DevOps as a career. So I don't want anyone to ask me, okay, but what about cybersecurity here? What about DevSecOps here? What about AI and machine learning ops? This is specific to cloud and DevOps. So if you have watched the previous videos I have generated with evidence, and you are convinced that this is where you want to be in the next 12 months to, let's say, 2 years, then this roadmap is for you. And with an average study of 2 hours per day, and from zero knowledge, no knowledge whatsoever about IT, then we'll start with a 15 steps roadmap or milestones that will take you from zero to hero, as they say, or from no knowledge in IT until you are someone or a profile that companies will be looking for and will be putting a lot of money as a package to hire. So we start with IT, cloud, and DevOps fundamentals. Here I'm talking about the absolute fundamentals. So in IT, you're going to learn a little bit about networking. You're going to learn what are IP addresses, what are subnets, what are routers, and what do they do? What's IP routing? What's switching? And what are the switches and what they do? And also you're going to learn about ports and protocols and security fundamentals. What is a firewall? What's a virtual firewall? What's a security group? What's a network ACL? And what are common protocols that you are going to use? For example, SSH, DNS, and what are protocols that you will use or tools that you will use for troubleshooting, ping and traceroute and curl and stuff like that. So details of what you need in every one of these steps is going to be in a subsequent video, but for now I'm going to tell you the steps. And also you will get fundamentals of cloud. What's a data center? Why did we move into the cloud? What's the difference between a cloud and data center? And what's the financial model that is making the cloud attractive to companies? And what are the common cloud services models? And then we'll look into what is DevOps. Why do we need it? How is it important in the automation of software industry or the software development? Why does it help? And where were we before DevOps? And the problems or the issues we had that DevOps takes care of. So that's just to lay the ground and to understand why you are getting into cloud and DevOps and what's cloud and DevOps. So if you are with a friend and he would ask you, yeah, why should I get into cloud and DevOps? What is this? What are you going to do? What is this all about? You will be able to explain that. Then we are going to take you in step number 2 into an introduction into AWS. Why AWS? Because it holds 30% or 30% of the global market share. And in any country, it's going to be the most desired cloud provider or the second one. After finishing this and learning about load balancing and learning about virtual private clouds and learning about how to implement what you learned in networking here for security and for routing and for subnetting and for IP addresses, how you can implement that and how can you configure routing tables inside your virtual environment, and also how you can load balance and do a project that is going to deploy an application with a database and a web application basically that will be accessible from the internet with high availability and so on. So that's what you will be capable of doing at the end. And this will prove to you and anyone who is saying you cannot get into cloud before you become a CCNA or CCNP, this will prove to you that you can get into cloud with just the fundamentals, without Network Plus, without CCNA, and without having to spend 6 months into introductions. After that, you get into Linux for beginners. So you need to know what is an operating system. And the best operating system to invest into learning right now is Linux. You will need it for machine learning, you'll need it for cloud, you'll need it for DevOps, you'll need it if you would like to be a system admin, you'll need it if you would like to work in data science, in big data, in analytics, anything, you will need the Linux skills, as opposed to Windows, which is more enterprise. So Linux for beginners. You will learn how to deal with files, how to create directories and subdirectories, and how to allocate permissions, and how to do networking in a Linux environment, and how you can configure some security features and some storage features as well. How to do SSH between Linux, how to connect from one Linux machine to another for administration or troubleshooting purposes or whatever that is. You will learn about services and daemons. What are these in a Linux environment? Because you will hear it when you learn Docker or Kubernetes or anything, that this is a service or this is a daemon. Best advice for those of you who would like to get and find a quick job and start to earn money that will fund the rest of the plan is to consider after this step to get into or to get the Red Hat Certified Systems Administrator. This is I would say the #1 Linux certificate, and that should verify and validate that you are a qualified junior systems administrator or a junior tech support engineer. So now you know how to manage systems, and this is going to add more topics over what you learn in the Linux for beginners. And it has to do with processes and performance tuning and storage management and other stuff as well that are not necessarily required for cloud and DevOps, but it will make you a much better sysadmin. So if you apply to this certificate and you pass it, and then you learn some scripting fundamentals using Bash scripting, if you do this in about 2 to 4 months, depending on how many hours you invest, so consider, since you are a newbie into IT and you don't have any idea, consider the 4 months or the high end of the duration. So in 4 months, you will be able to apply for junior tech support engineer, and junior Linux administrator or associate Linux administrator, and associate AWS Linux administrator. So a Linux administrator working on AWS compute and servers. So this is what you will be applying for here. So here at this point, you will be qualified to apply for 2 to 3 jobs. Are you going to stop? No, you are going to adjust your profile on LinkedIn. You are going to adjust your resume or CV, and you will start applying seriously, and you will look at jobs in your country or geography, and you will see how they write, what are the skills they are looking for. You will map your profile and resume to these skills so you become relevant. You will make these profiles online and public so recruiters will be able to look at it. You will network with other people and friends and try to get a job at this stage, but we are not going to stop. So you have reached a great milestone, and in this milestone you have 2 or 3 jobs that you can apply to. So you are going to apply, but we are continuing the education. So this is the IT Foundation, Linux and Bash. Done. Then we get into the second phase, the DevOps phase. Why not the cloud first? Because the cloud phase requires a lot of study to get certificates. Whereas in the DevOps phase, the only demanding one, I would say, would be the certified Kubernetes administrator. That's the one that will take some time. All right. So in the first phase, if you have considered taking this one, and if you are in dire need to get into IT and start to explore it from the inside, and you start working, then this is what you will need to do. Okay, from there, then we move into DevOps. The very first milestone is to learn Git and GitHub. Whether you are going to work with developers as a DevOps engineer, or you are going to work as a cloud engineer or a system administrator on Linux, you will have scripts and files, even if it is bash scripting files, and these are going to have different versions. So to maintain that and to make it accessible to the team and to have version control that can audit, or you can roll back to previous versions and you can look at why did we get from version 1 to version 2, what was the commit message, what were the differences. Then to maintain files and to maintain their versioning, you need to learn Git and GitHub. Collaboration in a team relies on GitHub. So Git on your local machine, GitHub is on the internet. After you learn this, now you know how to deal with files and versioning of files, or documents and dealing with documents, or script and so on. Next step is you learn Python for automation. I know a lot of people will be scared to hell right now. I don't like programming. I never understood it. I tried before and it never worked. I don't want you to be a full stack or a back end or front end developer. I want you just to learn a little bit, a course that is 6 to 9 hours of how you can use Python to automate stuff in your systems or maybe in the cloud. And you have already learned about Bash, you have already learned about AWS, and you have already learned about Linux. So why not take it a step forward and take the Python? One would tell me, oh my God, but I hate programming. I don't like it. The jobs on dice.com, indeed.com, monster.com, you will always find that companies are asking Bash, PowerShell, or Python. And sometimes they ask for Go also for automation skills. And okay, if I have already learned Bash, why should I learn Python? I mean, they both do automation and scripting, yes. But this can deal with files and a lot of more things than the basic scripting that you can do with Bash. So this one would be a must for anyone that would like to get into DevOps. It will give you the programming fundamentals, So when you sit in a meeting with DevOps and development engineers and software engineers, and they are talking about loops and this and that, you will not be disconnected, not understanding what they are talking about. So basically that will teach you the fundamentals and the lingo of the development. So you will understand how to sit with programmers and developers and DevOps engineers and understand what they are talking about. So done with this one, what do I do next? A lot of the tools that we are going to learn forward depend on something called YAML. So basically a formatting, a data serialization format or protocol. So this is just an introduction. Maybe a couple of hours course max would be able to explain it to you. Very easy to understand. Now moving from here, we need to understand where or how applications are deployed. So containerization of applications or building cloud native applications always relies on containers. So you're not going on physical servers, you're not going in virtual machines, you are going into a tiny little software processes are called containers. So in order to understand that, the best way to start is to learn Docker. Docker is a Docker engine or a containerization tool that is invented or launched by Docker Inc. And this is the flagship when we talk about containers. Of course, there are other tools, but this is the one that is highly recommended as a starting point. And also they have Docker Hub with so many images that are available where you can use to build your applications using that. So you're going to go through the Docker Mastery, where you are going to learn about Docker from beginner to pro. Containers are great, but as the number of containers grows, think of them as small programs, small executables that run on your Linux machines or sometimes on Windows servers as well. So as they grow and as your applications increase and you increase dependency on containers, then how can you manage them? How can you orchestrate? How can you scale? How can you shrink if you don't have load and then scale the number of containers when you have a lot of traffic to your application? And also, if one is not responding, how can you kill it or delete it and then replace it? Who can control that? Of course, it's not a human being. That's a tedious job if a team will only sit to monitor containers all the time. So for that, we are going to recommend going with the best and the most widely recognized and spread orchestration and management tool, which is the Kubernetes. And when you reach here at this level and you go through how you can build that and how you can build also clusters for Kubernetes on AWS, on the cloud, basically. So this is going to be learned on the cloud. This is going to be learned on the cloud. And this is also going to be on the AWS cloud. So all of that is building on your AWS introduction that you have done here. And when you do this, then we highly recommend extending a little bit of time, maybe a couple of weeks, 3 weeks after you finish this, to get the CKA, the Certified Kubernetes Administrator. So this is a verification from the CNCF, the organization that is looking after Kubernetes, that you are qualified to administer environments and run them through Kubernetes, which is more complicated than something called Docker Swarm, for example, which is an orchestration by Docker Inc. So now you can get into large-scale administration of Kubernetes systems on premises or in the cloud. So this is all great, and now we can orchestrate and manage applications, but we don't have any visibility into them. Then monitoring is key, and that will get you also into the site reliability engineering. You can monitor your environments and applications, and you can visualize and print reports or output reports using Grafana. So this is going to collect the metrics from your environment and will make them available, will do alerting and so on. And Grafana is how you can read this data and you can visualize it into graphs and so on. So this is very important. Think of it, for those of you who know about networking, like management systems or network management systems. So once you have done that, this is all beautiful and great, but we're still dealing with the cloud manually. This is not how it works in real life. So in real life, they write scripts that will create virtual machines and will create networks and subnets and virtual firewalls and gateways and load balancers through scripts and not manually on the portal on the cloud. And that is through the most widely recognized IAC, or infrastructure as code. So basically, in a script, you are going to describe the desired state where you want infrastructure to be, and Terraform will take care of that through a script, and then apply that script, send it into AWS, and everything you need is going to be created like this in 2 minutes, in 5 minutes max. Whereas if you do it manually, it is prone to errors, it takes longer, and after you finish it, you have to terminate it or delete it. And if you need it the next time, then you'll have to rebuild it again. Here, you don't do that. You write the script once, and then you can test it, validate it, it's working fine, and then you can use it 100 times afterwards. And when you do this, we highly, highly, highly recommend, and that's the easiest certificate we mentioned so far, that you get the Terraform Certified Associate. This is a very easy exam after you finish this course for the Terraform Mastery, and you can pass it, and now you have 3 widely, globally recognized certificates under your belt. From here, we move into the core of DevOps. So this is automation for DevOps. This is automation for DevOps, but this is the core of DevOps, the continuous integration and continuous development and deployment. So basically, from the time the development team will be writing the code until it gets deployed, it passes through phases in a pipeline, imaginary pipeline. So the code, we do the integration of code between the different team or code segments, and then we build the application, and then we start testing it, and we see if we have any errors. We give feedback to the developers. The developers are going to revisit the code, fix the problems, and then again we do another rebuild, and we do testing again until it's all green for testing. And then we can say that we have something ready for deployment whenever you need. And once we get the approval to go ahead and deploy, then we can deploy it. So that's CI and then CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. So when you learn this, Jenkins is the most famous one. And CI/CD is about concept. So if you learn it in Jenkins, then you can learn it on any other tool. The only difference is going to be how to use the other tools, and maybe there is a slight difference in features. But learning Jenkins, you will never go wrong doing this. And of course, one might say, okay, I will learn also AWS DevOps, code build and code commit and code deploy and code pipeline and code star and so on. Another one might say, no. In my country, Circle CI or Argo CD or GitLab is the best tools to be used. Whatever it is, learning one will make your life much easier when you are learning the second and the third and the fourth and so on, depending on the job requirements. So once you are done with this, then we move into configuration management. Now, if I have a lot of systems, we deployed the systems. Linux have done their job, and they have built the bash scripting and everything is cool. Now, how can we deploy the application? CI/CD is going to help us to deploy it on Kubernetes clusters. Fine. But how can we configure the applications? Then Ansible is going to do the configuration management centrally on all your systems. And this is also considered an infrastructure as code because also you write YAML files, and this is going to take care of doing what you want. And here we recommend doing the Red Hat Certified Engineer. So if you have completed the RHCSA here and you know all the topics, then this is going to be a deep dive into Ansible. And if you get the certificate, that means you have 4 widely recognized or globally recognized certificates. 2 of them are from Red Hat. Once you are done here, then you are 100% qualified to start applying for Junior DevOps Engineer. I would say that you will be more than junior. You will be at least a 1-year experienced Junior DevOps Engineer with all what you will do. And one thing I didn't mention, that you are going to be doing projects at the Kubernetes level. You will be doing projects at the Docker level. Projects means that you have an application code and you are deploying that in Docker. Kubernetes, you have an application code and you are applying that into containers and managing that through Kubernetes on AWS. In Python, you should be using the Boto3 AWS library in order to configure things that you used to do manually here using Python. So you are doing projects as you go. So you can build a GitHub account after learning GitHub, and you make that as your portfolio. And you put a link in your resume or CV that this is what I have done and this is what I can do. And in Ansible, you do the same. In Terraform, you do the same. The project that you have at the end of this course, which is building highly available web application, load balanced and with auto scaling and so on, you should build it using Terraform. So now you are doing things manually as you start, but then eventually you are automating all of that. And this is the core of DevOps. And here, same thing, playbooks, doing things on AWS, launching multiple virtual machines using the other tools and then deploying that on top of them. Using Docker to launch a CI/CD Jenkins container that you are going to use for your CI/CD pipelines. So all of these are integrated together, and that's why they are in sequence, because each one builds on the previous ones. So once you are done with this, you are here qualified for DevOps Engineer, Junior DevOps Engineer, AWS DevOps Engineer. All of these are going to be under your belt that you can apply to here. After that, we move into stage 3. So here you are going to have your profile updated, or maybe you have another resume that focuses on DevOps. So we are going to look at what are the DevOps engineering and cloud engineering roles that are requested in my region, in my country. And then I will start massaging my CV with the projects that I have done and with the GitHub account that shows the profile. I'm going to work on that, and also on my LinkedIn profile, make them immaculate so they will be attractive, and also I will start networking and applying for jobs. The last stage of that is going to be the cloud stage. And this is again going to be 2 to 4 months. So the DevOps part takes 4 to 6 months, again with a 2 hours per day on average, with discipline and no gaps in learning. And if you are a newbie, then consider that it will be on the 6-month side. If you put more hours, maybe you'll bring it, even if you are a newbie, into the 4 months period as opposed to a 6 months period. Now the cloud part, because you would like also to get the seal from the cloud providers that you are certified. So on AWS, we are going to take 2 certificates. If you are to choose only one, I would recommend the Solutions Architect Associate or the SysOps Administrator Associate, because that is more into cloud engineering. This is more into architecture and solutions. So when you get these 2 certificates, or at least the Solutions Architect Associate, then you will get either 1 or 2 more certificates, add them to the 4 here, so that becomes 6 certificates globally recognized under your belt. So we are applying for jobs here. We are applying for jobs here, and we are continuing the learning. And then I'm going to also learn the cloud professional level of Azure, which is the Azure fundamentals, and get the certificate. And we're talking here about a couple of weeks effort. And this is again 2 to 4 months. And here you can apply for cloud engineer AWS, cloud engineer Azure, multi-cloud engineer, multi-cloud DevOps engineer, and DevOps engineer or cloud DevOps engineer. So all of these are going to be under your belt, about 7 different jobs throughout the plan, or 8 different jobs that you can apply to. And if whatever happened and you had to stop here, at least you have something to apply to and get a job. If God forbid whatever happens here, or you get bored or you'd like to take a break, then if you have achieved this milestone, you can apply for these jobs, take a little break, and then continue for the 3rd one. So by finishing this, I guarantee you, if you master everything here that you would set in any technical interview, if you have put your certificates and you have polished your profile and your resume perfectly, and you are applying for the right jobs, then you will set in any technical interview and smash it. And if you have some soft skills training with that, emotional intelligence and communication skills and this and that, then you are going to be the perfect fit for the job. Since you have been applying from this part until you reach this part and this part, that means you also have an interview experience, which will have you perform well in the interviews. So this is what I recommend for anyone who is a newbie or shifting into IT, as opposed to doing the old path stuff into A+ and Network Plus and CCNA and all that. So follow this path, guaranteed that you are going to be in demand, but you have to master it. It takes a lot of effort, it takes time, and it takes money investment as well to get the material for these courses and also to pass the certificates. But it is 100% well worth it. And if you cannot invest, then ask your current employer if you are employed. If you cannot invest, at least get it to this level where you can get a job and get this job to fund the rest of your path. Never stop at the first step, never stop at the second step. Take it all the way forward, because you would like to compete with less people. And I honestly don't think that anyone who is getting into junior jobs or high entry-level jobs in IT with 6 or 7 certificates that will not get the job. So I guarantee you that you are going to be one of the top performers in the interviews, and you will be shortlisted in a lot of jobs until you get the right one. All right, so this is the roadmap. This roadmap has been validated. We have tried this, and photographers have used it to get into IT successfully, and now they are even past the cloud and DevOps into AI. People from arts and non-IT related backgrounds, they have entered, and now they are DevOps engineers working in the field. And this is bulletproof and validated, so you are not the guinea pig. This has been tried before, and trust me, if you do this, you are going to be a highly in-demand skill in your country, 100%. All right, so please consider subscribing to the channel and activate the notification bar, give us a like and share, and I will see you in the next video. In the next video, I'm going to explain what exactly you need to learn in each one of these milestones, but I don't want to make this one very long. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.